Michael Ginsburg founded Leech and Paper in 1994 with his colleague Len Levine. Together, they created a number of fine art papers which are considered landmark brands to this day, such as Somerset, Stonehenge, Coventry Rag, Lenox. Those are just a few. Michael's guest today is Valpuri Remling. Valpuri received her MFA in printmaking from the Finnish Academy of Fine Arts and earned her Tamarind Master Printer Certificate from Tamarind Institute. In 2015, Valpuri was appointed the Master Printer and Workshop Manager of Tamarind Institute, one of the world's most prestigious lithography printer training and artist collaboration workshop residencies. And with that, I'll toss it to Michael.
Thank you, Mark. So I'm going to start out with my new learning of the language. I'm going to say, hey.
Hey.
Hey. Hey, Valpuri. Hey.
Hey, Michael.
I learned something right away, right? Great.
Yeah.
I said this earlier on. I didn't want to embarrass myself and by going into the chronology of Tamarind. And I figured that, who better positioned and situated other than you in the trenches can talk about a little bit about the history. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because I really want to talk about what's current, what's going on in 2021 and how you guys are reacting to the pandemic and all of that has hit us so terribly. But I do want to talk about a little bit of history about what is the legacy of Tamarind Institute. I mean, and we can talk about it together and share ideas. All right.
Sounds good.
Okay. So realizing that it goes all the way back to Los Angeles, 1960, my God. And I will say, and I admitted this to you earlier, we as a company, Len and I as a company, have been supplying Tamarind for 50, out of those 60 years, 50 years.
That's amazing. I have no idea it went so far. That is absolutely amazing.
It is. It's just amazing. And over those 50 years, as you well know, I've created Legion has created, but I personally am very involved in creating some of the go-to papers that Tamarind uses, Somerset, without a doubt. Some of the other brands you're probably using as not quite so much deluxe editioning like Stonehenge or Coventry or any of those grades. All right.
Yeah, Reeve, BFK.
And Reeves BFK.
Yeah.
Yeah, Reeves BFK has been around for forever, and Arch Cover. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
main papers we use for sure.
So we went from Los Angeles, 10 years in LA, and then, moved on to Albuquerque, New Mexico. A little bit about Albuquerque.
Right. So the move happened because Clinton Adams was head of the arts department, the fine arts department at the University of New Mexico. And then for certain reasons, Tamarind needed to move locations, and it just felt like the right place to do it. And Garrow was teaching here. So it was a natural transition. I mean, a lot more goes into that than that, but like you said, let's keep it current.
Yeah.
I gotta say, and I'm gonna talk about this a little bit as I go through my non-slideshow. So I didn't want to make a slideshow, but it came up to be that way. But we are in the desert. We're in the high desert. So it's a very challenging climate for paper transitioning from anywhere else to here. Once it's here, we're fine. But lithography is a very challenging method to be actually printing in the desert, in the high desert. So it's like what do you call it when athletes go to practice in high elevation practice, I suppose.
They have to condition themselves. What's really interesting is, and I talked about this yesterday on another webinar.
Yeah.
With the screen printer in California.
Yeah.
When you receive paper, it is so crucial that you allow that paper to adjust to the environment.
Absolutely.
Especially given what you just said, you're in the desert. You're in the desert. You're in a situation where the climate gets really weird.
Yeah.
So the paper has to be acclimated to its environment, to its new environment.
And we have the monsoon season, so even it gets acclimated. At one point, we also have to look at the calendar about when the monsoon is hitting, because then the humidity goes up, which it doesn't do
Right,
any of the time of the
right.
year. So it's actually very challenging, but that's why we train the world's best lithography printers here. Because if you can print in Albuquerque, you can print anywhere,
There you go.
right?
There you go. There you go.
Actually, can I show you a little? I'm just gonna
Sure.
step outside to the workshop side,
Yeah.
and I'll show my apprentice and one of the student printers printing, so you can kind of get a glimpse of the space. And then I'm
Great.
gonna come back to
Great.
my office. So
A little bit of change since I've been there. Wow. Great.
right, it's a new space altogether. So
know.
this is the workshop on my side here.
Wow.
Got 3 tack presses lined up here. Here
Now
in the
the
middle,
biggest bed that you have is what, Valpuri?
it's 52 by 38.
Got it.
Here we go. So these guys are printing for artist Paula Wilson. I'm gonna go back to my office so we can keep the bagel net working.
So talking about what about conditioning of the paper, when you get the stock in, because I saw the racks there, do you literally open it up and before going on press, do you literally put the blank sheets in the rack or not?
Not in the rack. We do bring them upstairs, open them from the packages, bringing upstairs, calendar. Then even after that, let them sit before we punch, and we try to punch them right before we're ready to print so that our registration doesn't, if we're using punch registration,
Right.
we don't want that to shrink before we start printing.
Okay.
Yeah, but drying ink on this climate, is also another big, not a problem, but an obstacle to just maneuver.
Longer drying times?
Challenging.
Longer drying times?
Oh my gosh, no, everything dries way too fast.
Just dries
So
fast.
in between, say we have a print that's 10 or more runs, meaning 10 or more days usually of printing, is we have to pack our prints in between very
Wow.
very fast, starting from the beginning, starting from the first runs.
So you
But
can
once you
print.
get to know,
So you can print more than one. How many colors can you print on a day on one edition?
well, that really depends on the edition, doesn't
On-
it? Size of the roller, and do we
Yeah.
only have one color on the roller? Are we using 2 different colors? We're not in the speed printing. It's not so much of how fast we make things. We are into making things look good and right. So
course.
whatever it takes is what it takes to make it
course.
right. Yeah.
Of course. So getting back to history, I mean,
Yes.
Tamarind has printed for, and I'm not going to make names up because I'll be again embarrassing. But you literally, Tamarind has printed for almost every renowned artist that I can think of. I mean, some world-renowned people have come in residence, and also not only to print their own, but also as educational, to teach students, because Tamarind, being a nonprofit organization, being a nonprofit institute, and it wasn't always an institute, it was the workshop in Los Angeles, and then it became the institute in Albuquerque. Tell us a little bit about that in terms of.
Yeah, well, I'd like to add to that if you actually think about Tamarind printing, you can count in all of those Tamarind trained printers who have opened shops in this country and around the world, who have printed to everybody. There's not a lot of artists who've made lithographs that have not crossed paths with a Tamarind trained printer.
Right.
So some of the major workshops, you take Gemini, for example, was started because of Tamarind. So you can understand.
Is that real? Is that true?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I
how
didn't know
far
that.
and wide the legacy goes. So it's not only us doing it here in the desert, it's everybody we send out to the world to print and open workshops. And doing that for 60 years, you can kind of calculate from there how many shops and how many printers are out there.
Wow.
There's actually a really cool map on our website that you can go through workshops and educational institutions around the world that have Tamarind printers working there.
Yeah. Well, I would encourage everybody that's watching, I mean, to get the real, true, well, not the truth, but the real history of
Hiding anything.
Well, no, but the real history of Tamarind. Go to the website and you'll get the educational, you'll get the the gallery, you'll get the enrollment opportunities. I mean,
And
everything.
there's a really cool timeline actually made for our last year's 60th anniversary that was a little downplayed because of the pandemic, but there is a beautiful timeline from 1960 to this year where you can see major things happening in world history, as well as just what happened at Tamarind at that time.
Yeah. Now, how has the pandemic affected the operation in terms of the printing? Are you able to do things online? I mean, how is it affecting you?
Well, this is definitely something that we're doing more, is just reaching out online and through webinars and artist talks. But when it comes to the day-to-day work in the shop, we have been fortunate to be able to be working in the shop daily since June 2020.
Wow.
So we have been busy. We have obviously things that we're waiting to be editioned. We have been able to bring artists in that are local or have been able to drive and then quarantine for the 2 weeks before starting to work with us. We have worked and are working with artists, sending materials back and forth, connecting even with new artists during this time and sending them things to try, and plates and mylars and drawing tools, and people that I got to do a studio visit before all of this started. We've kept the fire on, and actually it's, for me, for the workshop, I think it's not that bad at all. I mean, I'm not saying that it's obviously different, but I think we're just creative in this field. What we do, we have to be creative anyways when we work with artists.
Yeah.
Everybody's different, so we're already conditioned to be trying to get over obstacles and trying to problem solve. I mean, that's what we do. We problem solve. So if it's lithography, I mean, it's not the end of the world. We can always think of things, how to work things out. So
yeah, and it's not only your standard lithography flatbed. I mentioned to you earlier, you really go back to printing with stones,
Yeah.
printing on stone, actual stone litho limestone.
yes, we have a good library. We have a great library of stones. My apprentice Alyssa Ebinger was just printing on a small little stone there, and it really depends on what works best for any artist and any image or any mark making that we want them to do or they want to do. But obviously, I mean, you could ship stones around as well, but so far we've been keeping that from happening.
Well, I could see someone on a bicycle with a stone in their backpack.
Yeah, you can ship stones around, but
I'm sure
we haven't had to do that yet.
It's an interesting process because, just my own personal knowledge of stone lithography, the artist is working literally in reverse, or, the image in reverse.
Well, a lot of printmaking is mirror image, but Michael, there are ways around all of that.
Yeah.
There's a way around anything that might feel weird or is an obstacle. We have a trick for everything. So
I'm sure you do over the years. I'm sure.
So yeah, our most important thing that we start with is make the artist comfortable. They are already in a new environment here. So what we do here, just to kind of get back to what we were supposed to say, is that we educate printers, collaborative printers in lithography, and then we publish work. We have artists here in residency with us, and we work with them on original lithographs. And so when we do that, we are bringing people here into a new place, into a new environment, new smells. You can think of the sounds and smells of a lithography workshop. And then these artists are not alone in their studio trying things out. They're with other people working and exposing themselves. So what really is the most important thing for us when they do come here is that we want them to feel comfortable. We want them to be surrounded with things and materials that feel right for them and fit their hand and look like the work that they are used to do. So
right, and the collaboration is just, it's just open, right? I mean, everybody shares information, works together as a team, literally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doing an edition.
It's very much a team effort.
Yeah.
It couldn't be done with just one person. It needs all of us in there. And my apprentices are as much a part of it as myself and the artist.
That's fantastic. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. And
We
now,
do have a quick question, just to interrupt, because it's pertinent to what you're speaking about. Richie is asking, do the artists send pre-made lithostones or plates to you to create them in-house, or is everything done in-house?
Everything is done in-house, except for now during the pandemic, we do get matrices sent to us, but usually we want them to do it here and do it together and work together. And yeah, we're creating the work as we come. Very rarely do we even have a sketch of what we're going to work with, you know, so very much created on the spot.
Yeah, Valpuri, from an enrollment standpoint, does anyone who's interested in learning the craft have to have an art education or any kind of an art skill background, or no?
We have a couple of different ways to learn, and we do teach collaborative lithography first and foremost, and that's the 2-semester program that's affiliated with UNM, University of New Mexico. There, I'm pointing because they're across the street right there, the campus is, and that is Brandon Gunn is the education director, and he's
Right.
tailored that program so that the students really learn the ropes in technical from the technical aspect, but then also the collaborative aspect of working as a printer with artists. And then there's the summer program, which is a shorter program that is for people who want to maybe learn a new area in lithography. Maybe they're educators or artists, or they want to just kind of like better their skills in what they're doing, or maybe just refresh or get back to it. So you do need a little bit of experience before you can come here. But those are the main programs that we do, and we're definitely planning to do more and try and find ways to do programs that are shorter, less of a threshold to kind of step into, and more accessible for people who maybe don't have the possibilities to learn it anywhere else. So we're definitely working on that, and the pandemic has for sure started that thinking. So there's a lot of things that the pandemic has made us rethink and kind of revalue, like, is what we're doing, is it, you know, are we doing the best we can?
How far do you guys push the needle in terms of the process, in terms of experimenting with new techniques and things of that nature?
That's a very good question. So a big part of our mission and day-to-day practice is research and pushing the medium. I would also almost say, without having to lie, and I don't want to lie to you, Michael.
Okay.
You know,
tell me the truth.
I want to say that we invent something new in mark making or printing every time we have a new artist in, because we are the ones who need to mold. We are the ones who need to mold to their needs, not the other.
It's the artist that challenges you. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And they don't even understand that they're challenging us. That's how we have to mold to their needs. That's how much it needs to happen. And you need the experience in the collaborative aspect of the work, but you also need the technical abilities to be able to do that. Understanding the chemistry, understanding your tools, knowing what you have to work with, understanding the papers.
Working with the best papers. Of course, very important part of the process, without a doubt.
Absolutely. And I gotta say, it was really exciting to think about finished work that I have. You know, I don't often go through what we have made as much as I did right now, and especially going it through thinking about paper first. I mean, it is the support. It is ink on paper.
Now, is it you, the workshop? If an artist comes in, let's say,
you come in.
Yeah. Who recommends the sheet? Is it you, or does the artist come in and say, nope, I want you to print on Somerset, that's it, I love the grade, you know, that's what I want you, or do you make the recommendations?
Well, you know, maybe we can get to my slideshow and I can start putting those things out. Does that
one thing
good?
that I did want to mention is that, being nonprofit, I mean, all the things that are in your gallery, that are in the Tamarind gallery,
everything's for sale.
Yeah, everything is for sale, but all the proceeds, correct me if I'm wrong, go right back into the workshop.
Into the education.
Yeah, and the
absolutely.
education.
Yeah, that's what keeps the things. Oh, someone's printing with Uli in Germany. at Keystone. I can see a question. Oh, yeah, Tamarind printer there in Berlin.
Mark, did you ever, was there a question, Mark?
I think Mark just.
No, you're just about to answer it. There was a question about the marriage of paper and stone and the importance of a paper and selecting paper, and I think you're just going to address that.
Absolutely, and there's more that comes into paper and stuff. There's the sizes of the stones, how they're measured and cut in refinery, that ties together with paper sizes in different countries and different regions. So they go back, the 33 by 40 inches or the 100 and 17 and 67 centimeter sheet. I mean, it all ties back to they go hand in hand. But should we get to it?
Yeah, please.
It's not like I'm not going to plow through. I mean, let's talk about what we see.
Sure, 100%.
But I do want to get to them so that we can go through everything. So does that look good to you guys?
Yeah, it looks great.
Okay, so let's just start with this short video of just kind of a simple process video of my apprentice sponging a big stone on the press bed. We're snapping.
That is a gigantic stone.
It's almost the size of my press bed. The print that came out of that is, you can see it behind, it's 34 by 45 inches.
Wow.
But leather roller, black ink, that's very traditional lithography for you. So it's the last run for this Danny Orchard print, and I'll show you the print in just a moment. That is, I don't want to lie, but I think it's the roll of Arch that, it's the roll of Arch, the 300 gram.
Okay.
It already has 3 runs on it, and then the key went on, and there you go. And there you have it.
Wow.
So we do work with oversized, white reeve. It's white reeve BFK, the roll that we get from you guys. So when we do go oversized, often we either put sheets together or then we go for the roll. And I still need to get that that Somerset at some point from you too, because you have that new roll.
The roll, the 500 gram.
Yeah.
That's a fairly new item. 500 grams, 60 inches wide.
Yeah. Can you send me a little
sample? Sure.
Yeah.
Of course.
I'm gonna write that down so that we don't forget.
Well, you'll email. You'll let me know, because I'll forget.
I will too, unless I write it right now. Got it.
I'll forget.
So Daniel Orchard here with this print, and like I said, the paper choice was made by the size of it was the biggest factor in choosing the paper was the size of the image that we're working with. So we were a little bit limited.
So you had to go with the roll.
We went with the roll, and it worked beautifully. Yeah.
Now just talk about this, because we get this from time to time, unwinding the roll.
Yeah.
Because we know that cotton fiber paper has memory. Yeah. And that when you unwind it, tell me what you do to get it to be flat.
Okay, so we wind it from the bottom, unlike toilet paper is supposed to be, the other way around.
Okay.
And lay it on the table. Right next, we roll. We have this stand that the roll is on. We roll it next to a table, pull it out, tear it, and then leave it like that, just to relax. It's kind of like this, right? And we leave it to relax for quite a bit.
No heavy weights on top.
Nothing. We don't put anything on it. We just let it relax on its own. And then we calendar it, because we want to get rid of any unnecessary texture, and also we want to pre-stretch our paper. We run it through the press a few times to
interesting.
Yeah. And then we might turn the stack around, or turn them around the other way around, but actually that's all it needs. And then we let it sit for another week or so before we prep it for punching, and because of the desert factor again.
Because we have some printers that what they do is, when they take it off the roll, they rewind it in the opposite direction.
There's no need for that.
No need for that. Okay.
No, not at all. I think relaxing and giving it time. I mean, it's a big roll. It's like, it's like the core is like that.
Yeah, it's 42 inches wide too.
Yeah. No, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we talked about this.
This is a great. Great.
You're a fan of match lines art. This is also on White Reef's BFK, but but I wanted to mention this because it's such a paper related print, because Matt came in and wanted to use paper that was kind of like, he was talking about a ream of paper that would change color as it got, it would be ream with gradually changing color.
Oh,
and he
wow.
said, "Oh, Legion, give me that." I'm like, we can do that. We can print that. So what we did is we printed on the offset press that we have, put ink on the rollers there and started putting down flats, just solid areas of color, but with adding ink little by little here and there to get these gradations, and then gradually turning darker. You can see behind there a row of just some light blue that went for this bigger piece that we made with him.
Wow.
So this is all.
That's unbelievable. That's fabulous.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Here's Matt just working with some. This is white Somerset satin, and the point here was to get some matte areas and some glossy areas onto.
It's almost holographic,
Yeah, we were going for like a blood effect.
Yeah.
On this, yeah, these are all white Somerset satin.
That's fabulous.
Matt, that paper choice came from not so much from what we wanted to do, but what worked with Matt for his cutter, and his folding.
Yeah,
So what?
And that's a satin finish. The satin.
Yes, yeah, and it's the 300 gram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, great.
And here's a recent print that we worked on. And I wanted to show this because I wanted to talk about using multiple types of paper within one print. These are small sheets of cream Reeve BFK, and then there's some kitakata in there. And actually, this piece was put together from 2 sheets of cream Reeve. Not that we don't have that in big sheet, we do. This is just a slightly larger than 33 by 40. But the thing that made the paper selection be what it is that it's a small sheet put together, was that the initial drawing that started this whole idea, because we don't know what we're going to go for when we start, and we try to keep all doors open, wherever the work is going to go, was that the initial drawing, one of the first runs, is on a smaller stone. And so we wanted to print on that small stone and then putting them together, and it worked out beautifully. We have it's actually arch cover cream, and then there's kitakata natural, and then there's some kozo. This is the kitakata, so it's that natural color here, and the black is printed, and then rest of the runs are partially printed over it, and then partially they go onto the cream. And then this detail is kozo and printed double-sided for these guys. And then there's some silver leaf and kozo again for the black and the purple.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, it's a really cool piece. And we do that a lot.
Is that a little bit like a shinkolay with the two? Was that an overlay of shinkolay?
This is definitely a very traditional shinkolay. So you're attaching a thinner stock paper, a thicker stock paper, and then printing. That was already printed, and then you're still printing on top.
Exactly.
Of it. This is more of we call them accessories with Ellen. This is Ellen Lesperance, the artist in question here. We call them accessories because they were kind of like stickers that we made. So we're using Goody V and Duramount and sort of membrane tapes in big rolls as such.
That's so cool.
Yeah, to create something that we can then attach, but it's still removable.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, and here's another example of Ellen's pieces. This is this old stock of tan Reeves BFK that we had that has that beautiful rendering surface. We only had a few sheets left. We had just enough to make this project happen, so we used it on here. And the choice for the color of the paper was very much based on the fact that the artist in their studio work uses tea to dye their paper, stain their paper.
Really? Wow. Wow.
And this old tan really worked for that. And then this is a piece of kozo here that's printed double-sided again with a really transparent gray, shinkolayed, over in a folded form. And then we have a mulberry piece here that's actually a wool tack, and it's printed on mulberry, silver leaf safety pin, and then the artist knitted a silk nipple.
A little bit of a collage work, huh?
Yeah, a lot of collage work in that for sure.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Assembly.
Very nice.
Here's a very traditional lithograph for you. No additional papers, no nothing. One run, black from stone, beautiful washes.
That's a stone litho, stone print.
Yeah, that's just actually, I have it right behind me there, don't I? On the wall. Yeah. David Rathman.
Great piece.
Color of the paper, I was thinking to showing this next group of prints because the color of the paper is very much a big part of the mood of the print. It meets the ink earlier, like the contrast is not as much. We don't have to print anything. And not that we don't have to. Paper color, when it's the tone of paper, it's going to look different than if we printed that color behind.
So to that point, Valpuri, do you know all the, so before the print is done,
yeah,
and before the paper decision is made, you know how many, you know the color ranges that's going to be on the sheet. So it gives you a better idea in terms of what color or what tone product or paper you're going to use. Obviously.
Absolutely. When we proof, when the artist is here and we start proofing, we try everything.
Got it. Yeah.
So we decide there and then what we want to use. But then I have to make sure before I show something to the artist, I have to make sure that I have a stock that is uniform in color.
Right.
Do I have enough paper to make this edition happen? And it's going to be the same color when it's such a big part of the print, you know, it's such an essential part of it. I have to make sure that I have it, which I didn't here with this Judy Chicago print.
Wow.
Because Judy likes to sketch on this blue Pesha. We talked about this last time we talked with you.
Yes.
And then we started.
It will happen. It will happen.
Yeah, you said.
I
have it written down. I'm going to hold you to it.
I know. It will happen.
But we were starting to proof this print that we tried all sorts of different papers, and then every time she showed me her sketches and such, I was like, well, you're using this blue Pesha. Should we just try print on this Pesha, because that apparently is what you like. And we did, and it worked beautifully. The problem was that we couldn't really get enough of it. So before we could decide, can we actually make this print happen on this blue Pesha, we had to find out how much we can get of it and how uniform is the color of it going to be. Judy had some, we had some, university had some, the art store in town had some, and from those we were able to put together a coherent stuff.
Nice piece.
It was a big edition. It was 120 or 100 sheets.
Yeah, wow, it's nice.
Yeah. Here's another example where paper really makes the print. Again, Grace DeGennaro is the artist here. We've got Gray Reeves BFK and Cream Reeve BFK, or the other way around rather. And then just these really transparent petals. The idea was kind of to do a almost like a inverted version of one, and a night and a day version, and they just work so beautifully together.
Yeah, that's great.
Here's another one. The photo is not doing it much justice, but this is on that bisque Revere.
Oh yeah,
that pinkish paper, and greens just pop on that.
Really? Wow.
Matt McGee is the artist here, and that paper works with this print magically. They just you don't even understand how pink the paper is before you put it next to a white sheet, but with this green,
I know,
it zing.
Yeah, I owe you samples on that. I'm getting them for you.
I know, we talked about that.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I mean, I love the Somerset antique white too. It's quite a bit darker and duller. It does some of the same things on certain prints, but there's nothing like that. I mean, I really love this tone. And if we could get it in silk in 300 grams.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be something?
Yes.
Then this next patch of images that I picked, I was thinking about prints where paper is almost plays a part of almost place like a drawing part in it, like the paper is a mark on its own. In this Lynn Myers print, the white edge and then the rest of the paper here being bleed outside of the paper, it just brings the paper to make this look like almost like a page in a book or something that you can just immediately start thinking, why is it bleeding on that one end, and why do we have white on the other? But there's a movement, they're moving away, almost like the image is kind of moving away from the sheet. It creates, because the standards that we're used to looking at, like when we look at the prints behind you or some of the prints behind me here, you've got those equal borders, but what if you shift that? And all sorts of things start happening in people's minds, and they start trying to find reasons for them. Why is it this way?
It's a great piece.
It's beautiful. This David X. Levine piece does a similar thing here, where the white line is the paper showing. So one of the most most prominent things in this print is this thin white line, and that's paper.
Well, the registration is important here too. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Registration is always important. Yeah. And here's another one where image is almost solely made with paper. This is a Tara Donovan print, and you probably, I don't know if you've seen her show. I think it's still up in Pace, or maybe it closed a few weeks ago, but this is her cardstock, like note cardstock pieces. And so this is white paper, and everything that's printed is black. So it's two rounds, the black around it, and then the black that creates the image, the paper white. So the paper white are the cards.
The black, the black Somerset is now an item. You know that, yes?
I haven't actually.
Yeah, black Somerset is now available in the velvet finish in 280 gram.
But here's the thing, we could not have done this in lithography on black paper.
Yeah.
Not with this effect of whiteness that the paper creates.
Yeah.
Screen printers, yes. In lithography, we're always embedding the ink into the paper or the previous colors. That's what we love in litho. We love it that it's matte and it's everything seeping together. So we had to think this in inverted brain mode. But I am gonna check on that black Somerset.
Make a note, and I'll get you.
Send me a sample.
Send me a sample. Yeah.
But sometimes that is necessary. Actually, I do have a print in the works now that we're mounting. It's a Kozo that's printed bleed, and then we're mounting it on a black paper. On the Black Riviera, I had some of that left, so I'm doing it on that Black Riviera.
Wow.
These pieces, this triptych is it's on white Somerset satin as well. And the reason for that was very much that the artist didn't really like any paper structure to show, and we wanted to print on both sides of the paper. So the front is printed with these shades of gray, and the background of the paper is an equally solid area of color in yellow, orange, and red. That correlates with a person with achromatopsia would see. When they would see a red, they would see that tone of gray. And
I can imagine what this really looks like live. I mean, because that the background coloring is like really plays tricks with your eyes.
It's lifted from the back of the frame, of the back of the mat. So the color really bounces back from the mat and back at your eyes and kind of spreads in the frame. Yeah, it's beautiful. Susan York is the artist.
Now, it mentioned you before we talk about this piece. You talked about framing. Where do you do your framing?
That's a good question. We kind of do it all around. It depends on where are the pieces going. Our own framing we do in-house for our gallery, because we have a gallery here on the second floor as well.
And you do your own matting and all of that is all done in-house.
For our purposes here, a lot of the stuff that we, when fairs were still a thing, we would do them. We might be framing in New York, sending people there and have them framed. And then so really depends on what's the smartest.
Yeah.
For us. this is also white Somerset satin. And this was a really fun piece because we've kind of incorporated some folding of the paper there to catch it almost looks like there's something like ash is gathered on the fold. And yeah, we did some tricks there to make it look like that, but it's all printed flat and then folded, obviously.
Wow.
And this artist she's a minimalist artist, and we talked a lot about just getting the finest detail and just not having any paper structure, any felt structure showing. And I pulled some newsprint and she said, I really like this. It's looking good. I just don't like the newsprint structure. I was like, oh my goodness. If newsprint structure is a problem, then we have a problem.
Now, Valpuri, you would not frame this. I mean, or would you float it? You would, so it's floated. It's
big
floated.
Spacers. Yeah, just have big spacers in your frame. It's not, it doesn't come out too far. But how we got around with that was that everything, all this line work, this fine line work for the artist, which are like brush strokes. It's brush strokes of toner brought together on a plate. We printed them all on Gumby tissue.
Yes.
And then mounted, collate that onto the Somerset satin.
Now, I can't really see it, but I would imagine that this is all deckled, whether it be natural decal or hand torn. You tear your decals, correct?
It really depends on what we're looking to get. So, we try to get rid of watermarks on printed area. Not always possible. We try to make sure that if we do use decal, that it's nicely printed or not printed at all. And whatever we do, every sheet in the edition is going to have the exact same configuration of paper.
Right.
So if the decal is in the bottom, it's going to be in the bottom for each and every single print in the edition, obviously. We do tear edges a lot. We also cut edges with razor, whatever works with the print. Again, this is all decided when we're proofing. What does it need? Is the work needing of a soft torn edge? Is the work needing maybe something that's cut? Maybe it's a combination. Maybe we create with the laser cutter across the street at university's fabrication lab, a custom made tear bar that gives you an idea of a torn page from a magazine. We do whatever the print needs. Is edges of the paper are so important.
Now if you're floating the piece in a frame, I would imagine that you would probably want it to have that nice decal-y look around the edges.
Decal-y look is not nice for everybody, Michael.
No,
everybody likes the decal.
Yeah, I guess it's up to the artist.
It's up to the artist and up to the piece. Very much
makes sense.
And we talk about that together with them. Here's another piece that was very much I bring that down a little bit, very much folded and fabricated. So this piece comes out of this, and we put it into different papers. So we've got the cream Reeve BFK on the left, and then soft white Somerset satin here on the folded piece.
That's so cool.
So we printed it twice, and then one of them gets folded, one of them is flat. Abel Barroso is the artist here, Cuban artist. Where should we go next?
Now, who's the artist on this?
Abel Barroso.
Okay.
Are you having fun? Are you enjoying this?
Yeah, this is great. This is great.
Let's go here next.
Wow.
This is a piece by Aaron Noble, and it's actually put together from 2 sheets of 30 by 44. It's not 30 by 88. The size is not that big, but we just wanted something that was more rectangular than the traditional proportions of a full sheet. So that's also connected in the middle there. So we printed the artist drew 2 stones, one next to another, and then the rest of the runs are on plates. And then we cut them on top of each other and put them together. We really wanted to go with a traditional kind of 1800s lithography look with this. We really only use tools more or less that were available then. When it comes to mark making, at least. Obviously they're not the same pencils, they're not the pencils from the 1800s, but what makes an 1800s poster look like what it does, no lavish washes and stuff like that were used
Right.
here, but pattern with spraying tush with a brush or a toothbrush, rolling out flats with a lean ink film on the roller to get that kind of almost like halftone effect, but it's a handmade screen.
Right.
You know, stuff like that. It was a fun print to work, and it's 3 colors.
That's only 3 colors?
3 colors, yeah.
Wow.
That's what the blue and the red do together, and then introduce the yellow, and you've got everything in.
Wow.
It's a beautiful piece. Cream Reeves, BFK.
Great piece.
Yeah.
Great piece. Now, how involved, you know, wow, this is a great piece. So, Valpuri, how involved from a chroma standpoint are the artists, you know, when they come in to do, to reproduce and do a piece? They're very involved. Yes, they do their own chrome work, own chroma.
So here's the thing, we don't reproduce anything, and we don't even call it chromist work, because we don't have specific sketch that we're working from. So we give the artist the visual to work on top of, or try different mark makings on top of each other. When it comes to color and color layering, we test that before we even have the artist draw. So they know what's going to happen when they go and draw the next layer. We might give them a little test stone and a couple of test plates and test colors on top of each other.
Are they doing it on Mylar, or are they doing right on the plate, on the Mylar, or
depends on what we're doing. It's either Mylar or plate. Maybe we do pull a transfer from a stone and then transfer it onto a plate that they can continue on that, whatever the piece needs.
Wow.
But we don't put our gestural hand onto any pieces.
Right.
Yeah, if it needs some straight lines or something that's more of a technical, that's where the printers can come in and help, but we don't make gestural marks on the artist's work. It's not our hand, it's the artist's hand from the beginning to the end. It's very important to us that we don't do that.
Well, most artists wouldn't want you to be involved anyway.
I know.
Don't touch my art.
There's a reason why I'm a printer and not an artist.
Yeah, don't touch my art. Don't touch.
I am very good at drawing straight lines. I can tell you that I can help with.
Okay. This is a great piece. What is this?
This is a Hayao Posanti piece, and it's part of a quadriptych that we made with her here a couple of years ago. And I wanted to show this because it's also got collage elements on it. And we used, it's on white Somerset satin again. You can just call me white Somerset satin from here on. It's totally my favorite paper to use.
Okay.
And it's got Kozo sheets. And we printed these Kozo sheets with white on both sides to create opacity to it. And then we cut them with just like one of those vinyl cutters, you know, like a irregular vinyl cutter. And then printed the black and the blues, and then assembled the cut pieces on top of the black and the blue so that they show through a little bit.
Yeah.
But where they're printed, like this is just a printed right here, this thinner line, it shows through more. So we wanted different kinds of opacities and warmth of a white showing, and that paper really gave us that perfect. We didn't have to mix a new ink. We didn't have to double, triple drop. It looks beautiful. It's matte, and the paper is giving us that translucency exactly the way we want it.
So what is it about? I mean, talking about Somerset satin, I know it's one of your go-to and one of your favorite papers. What is it about the surface that makes it so appealing?
It's not just the surface; it's body too. It stands well, but not too well. It doesn't. It's not too sturdy, but it's not too floppy. It's got a good sizing, I suppose, is to my liking. It takes layers well. It reacts with litho ink really beautifully. You can really, bound down like 12 layers of ink on it if you've got good drying times, and it'll still look beautiful.
That's great.
And it's a great color. It's a great color paper.
Yeah.
It's neutral, it's non-evasive, tears beautifully. I love it.
Well, I can't wait for you to react to the 500 gram on the roll. I mean,
me neither.
Is
that going to be white? Is it the white?
It's a standard white. The standard white.
I love that. Yeah. Beautiful. Here are two pieces of Finnish indigenous artist called Outi Pieski.
I saw this. This was recently on Instagram, I think.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah.
It was her first lithographs, and I must mention most of the people who do work with us are doing their first lithograph. So that makes it different. It's wonderful to work with someone again that we worked with before, because then we can pick up from where we left off. But our mission again is to introduce lithography to as many people as possible.
Of course. Wow.
So Odie was working on first time, very traditional tush wash, crayon, working in reverse, carving out ink from the stone here on the left. And then those horned hat elements here are printed on Gambi on the Epson. So that's what do you call it? A digital element that's added to it. Here's another piece.
You know, one of the few, I have to tell you, Valpuri, one of the few workshops that prints as much as you do on stone. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's really unbelievable. I mean, you know, most flatbed studios or litho studios are solely flatbed metal plate, and and they don't go to stone. They don't go to what really brought them to the dance, you know, stone.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic.
I mean, we really try to use the matrix that works best for what we're trying to achieve. Having all of those possibilities in our hand, having the photo plates, and I wish we had like a good negative plate as well, positive plates, negative plates, having the ball grain plate, having the stone. I mean, that gives us such an array of possibilities. And you know what is the most important part of my job is not to give all of that to the artist. It's holding back so that they don't get confused.
Right.
It's really me knowing them, their work, what they're comfortable with, curating what I give them is definitely a big part of it. This print here,
and the curating stage is that's obviously the last stage, the curating.
Well, curating the prints, then that's a totally other, that's our curator upstairs there on the second floor who takes care of that, making sure that each and every print in the edition favorably compares to the BAT.
Right.
And documents every state of everything that happened to the print. How were the matrices made? How were the colors mixed? How were they printed? And documents and numbers, everything. And you can find, if you find a Tamarind print that has our Tamarind shop, the alchemist sign for stone, or take on that, you can look it up. You can find on the back of the sheet, you'll find a Tamarind number, and you can call us and you can find the documentation sheet for every print.
That's great. That's great. And you put the chop in every print that you do? Yeah.
We don't put the chop as a embossment on every print, but it is there either as an embossment or as a blind stamp on the back of it.
Is that also up to the artist as well?
Yeah, absolutely. What works with the artist and what looks good and is not invasive, but it's always there. It's always there. It's either on the back or you can find it in the front.
Now this is really interesting. What is this?
This is a Rashad Newsom piece. It's on that polar white reverse suede. And I wanted to talk about this because I showed that print with about previously this print with the digital print elements. This has digital print element, teeny tiny little hand right here, but it also has 3D printed element here, a rosin. So these prints, there's 4 of them in a series, are based on the movements of Vogue dancers. And we wanted to bring one of the movements out of the frame and create with the drop shadow effect here.
I just noticed that.
It's printed. The drop shadow is printed, and then there's a printed purple. Then there's the whole thing has a silver leaf, and then there's another key printed on top of the silver leaf, and then there's this element that comes out from the paper that's attached when it's framed.
That's a fabulous piece.
It's a fabulous piece. It's really, it jumps at you when you see it.
Yeah, it's really great.
I know that we're almost the end of the time. Mark is going to start.
We have some time.
But this piece I wanted to show too, because it kind of follows the same line where we have lots of elements that have been assembled together and woven together. This is also on the roll of the arch cover, big sheet from the roll, rather not a sheet, but the roll. It's got Kozo, and then it's got a lot of polyester film, or we just call it Mylar,
Right.
even though that's
Right.
a brand name, it's like Q-tips.
Right.
And everything woven and put together by Nicola Lopez. Oh, here's another piece that really uses paper as part of the drawing. This void, this piece is
Right.
Susan Caporal, and it's called Almost Everything, and it really captures what's going on with this print.
And what paper is this?
Well, what do you think? Take
Somerset.
a look. Yes.
Somerset. Oh, okay.
Got it.
I forgot.
So predictable. I think I've gone through everything except for this last little bit.
Wow, here's the press.
So this
Let's
is
see
our
this video.
offset press. We use this a lot with monotyping. I also like to use it with multiple. It's just another tool in the workshop, in my toolbox, that I like to utilize, maybe in making a matrix, sometimes actually printing an edition like we did with matte, or monotyping. But we have ink on the rollers here, and we're just putting down a layer of ink onto the paper with that. Did you see that thin sliver of paper there?
Where,
Here, I'll show you again. Here, see that thin sliver right there?
oh yeah, yeah.
So that was everything that was covering this red from fully covering the paper here. I just wanted to show you that paper plays so many roles in our process. Sometimes it's just stopping ink from going down. It's just a blotter.
Wow.
I thought it was a poetic ending. Did it?
Wow.
Did it go?
Mark, because we haven't been you haven't interrupted us, which means that either we've had no questions or you're saving them all.
No, we do have questions. We have a couple of questions. Let's leave we can spend about 5 minutes on these. Joseph is asking, do artists usually reach out to you to work with at the shop, or do you invite artists to produce their own work there?
We mostly invite.
And another question is, do you have to do anything different when you're printing Kozo? How do you deal with such a thin paper?
Kozo is a fairly good thickness of a paper to deal with lithography, that is. We do pre-stretch even Kozo because lithography press puts a lot of pressure on a paper. Maybe sometime you might want to dry your stone before you put it down so it doesn't get so wrinkly. Honestly, it doesn't really take that much of a different, but when you talk about Gumby tissue, well, that's a paper that you need a support paper if you're putting down big sheets of Gumby so that you can lay it down beautifully. I mean, then you gotta like really turn on the tricks and definitely print from a dry stone. But we print to so many various materials, everything from plastic to really thick papers, so that you just have to know what the enemies are and deal with it. Kozo is easy.
Great. Those are all the questions. You answered everything else throughout the presentation.
So Valpuri, the only thing that I can really say to you is, hey.
It is. Hey, terveisiä Suomeen.
Hey. No, listen, thank you so much. I mean, for carving out this
pleasure.
time. It's always great to see you. It's great to know a little bit more about what you do and what's going on at Tamarind. And, I look forward to seeing so much more out of Tamarind. I really
We
do.
have amazing projects rolling out. We've had some wonderful artists to work with these past couple of years. So you guys are really in for a treat. So yeah, follow us on Instagram and sign up for our mailing list if you're so inclined, but definitely follow us on Instagram. Wednesdays is when we post stuff from the workshop if you're interested in seeing exactly what we do, but we always post new editions there as well. So